What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be taking a look at Sleepy Hollow, directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp. Now, Sleepy Hollow tells the story of the Headless Horseman as he attacks the small town of Sleepy Hollow, and the residents are so scared that Ichabod Crane is sent from Manhattan, New York, to try and help them solve the case of the Headless Horseman and find out what's going on. Okay, so I love Sleepy Hollow. I think this movie is excellent. This is one of Tim Burton's best movies, my opinion. I think from a visual from a visual standpoint, this movie looks fantastic. The cinematography in this movie is exquisite. Tim Burton beautifully captures that late 1700s, early 1800s aesthetic with when we see, Manhattan at that point, and when we get to the town of Sleepy Hollow. I just love that overall look. And Burton creates this beautifully intense, creepy atmosphere all throughout this film. This movie is heavily inspired by those old Hammer horror films of the 50s and 60s, and also by the old Universal monster movies. And those influences clearly show with Sleepy Hollow. This is Tim Burton's love letter to those movies, and he does it expertly with his direction and cinematography. The washed out color palette makes this movie feel like it's in black and white, and maybe Burton should have released this thing in black and white because I think this movie would have looked excellent as a black and white feature. So, from a cinematography standpoint and visual standpoint, this movie is classic Tim Burton. It's unique. It's visually pleasing to the eye. It looks beautiful. The practical sets look fabulous. The costumes are all fantastic. They all fit the period. They all fit the period beautifully. So production value. I can't say enough nice things about it. For performances, Johnny Depp as Ichabod Crane, I think is great. Johnny Depp brings that typical Johnny Depp charisma to the role of Ichabod Crane. He's very quirky, but also very, very likable. And I like the humor that Depp brings to Ichabod Crane. Gives him a lot of charismatic with his quirkiness, and I like how he's has modern sensibilities by 1800 standpoints. Is completely foreign to the town of Sleepy Hollow, especially since Ichabod Crane is using forensic science, and now using forensic science in its very, very primitive form when it was first being discovered. Ichabod Crane was at the front with that, so I like all that stuff. I thought that stuff was great. Oh, and again, Johnny Depp does a great performance. Now, the supporting cast in this movie, they do just as good of a job too. You got the great Michael Gough, who was a stalwart of those old Hammer horror films. He has a nice little appearance in this movie. Ian McDiarmid has a good appearance in this movie. We got appearance by Michael Gambon, who plays Baltus Van Tassel, who's actually a prime character in this film. Uh, yeah, the supporting cast is a bunch of excellent legacy actors who all play their roles perfectly. Uh, and the story of this movie is also very, very good too. It's a good murder mystery story with a horror backdrop, and it plays out great. It plays out really, really great. The look of the Headless Horseman is fantastic, and I like that we get flashback scenes with the Headless Horseman as we see Christopher Walken as the insane Hessian himself as he's slinging everyone back and forth. And I like how this movie we see walking in the flashback, and then we see him again at the end of the movie when he gets his head back. So they don't overexpose Christopher Walken in this movie. They use him just the right amount. When the Horseman is resurrected from the dead and doing his thing, he's played beautifully by Ray Park. Ray Park, if you guys know, for those who don't know, Ray Park is a very great actor, stuntman. Played Darth Maul in Episode One, and was also Toad in the X-Men movies. Uh, so yeah, story to this movie will keep you engaged. It's a really good, solid murder mystery story. Good conspiracy story too, because we find out that there's a conspiracy going on, and I thought all that was handled fairly well. And I think the overall reveal is worth the payoff, in my opinion. I think it's worth the payoff when we find out that it's actually Baltus's wife who has control of the Hessian, dating back to when she was a child and her family was evicted from their home, and Baltus and his family ended up getting her home, and she was left out in the cold. So she pretty much used the Horsemen to exact revenge by killing every single person and getting all the riches for herself. So I understand her motive is a basic revenge plot, and it works for this style of movie because it goes back to those old Hammer and Universal movies where you didn't have like these omega stakes. You know, it was always it was always personal gain. So, in keeping with the spirit of that, beautiful, works expertly, tells the story that needs to be told. The now scenes with the Horsemen in general, fantastic scenes, great scenes, just the right amount of suspense, just the right amount of horror, just the right amount of thrills. Burton captures it expertly. I like the way he directed his action sequences. They're all very thrilling, especially the last 15 minutes in the windmill and the big chase up to the tree of the dead. All handled beautifully. Now, if I do have one gripe with this movie, it's got to be Christina Ricci. Not that she turns in a bad performance, it's the fact I think she's completely miscast as Katrina, the daughter of Baltus. I don't buy her in the role. She looks too flaky to me. Not only that, there are moments where she's okay in the role, and there are moments where she just has really, really bad delivery of her lines, and I don't really buy the chemistry between her and Johnny Depp. I think it just look it's it they don't have good chemistry to me on screen as a relationship. Not only that, to me the relationship is kind of a little bit underdeveloped. It kind of just happens for the sake of happening with no rhyme or reason to it. So I'm not really all for that. And then there's this. Not only that, there's this love triangle with the character of Brom that never really goes anywhere because Brom ends up getting killed off. So the movie introduces a love triangle, doesn't really do much with it, and the character of Katrina to me is more or less a blank slate. She has no really defining character traits to herself. Ichabod Crane just loves her and saves her for the sake of loving somebody and saving somebody, I guess. So she's a weak link. To me, she's a weak link in an overall great movie. So yeah, there's so much more to talk about Sleepy Hollow, but as it stands, those are all my thoughts I got to say about it. Overall, I love this movie. I give it a solid 9 out of 10. Beautiful atmosphere, outstanding cast. That also, before I forget, includes the late great Christopher Lee, who was a legend in the old Hammer horror films. So this movie's got Christopher Lee and Michael Gough, two stalwarts of the old Hammer horror franchises of yesteryear. No wonder why this movie is so good. Tim Burton did his homework. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for Sleepy Hollow. I love this movie. Anyway, let me know your thoughts about Sleepy Hollow in the comment sections down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I would like to know. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.